Hello, for lecture number 15, we are going to address two aspects. So you still focus on the domain-driven design and modeling the domain model. And the first question is related with the complexity of a large domain model. How can we structure this complexity? And this is something really interesting because it's actually what we can call the architecture of the domain model. Because usually when you think about architecture, for instance, in terms of layers, we really associate it with technology. So we have the presentation layer, the business layer, the data access layer. But here is to define constraints on the domain model so that you, in some sense, can organize the team work and can provide an elegant description of your domain model. I think that this idea of an elegant description of this domain model and uh, such that easy to communicate, easy to understand. So it's a bit applying probably some of the techniques you usually use to structure technology, but now in the context of the domain model. So when you start having a large domain model, you can have different business aspects, and we are going to decouple these business aspects. Okay. So it's a very interesting way to look at how we can define and decouple the domain model in terms of business functionalities and the qualities that you can get from this type of decomposition. And that to answer this question, you need to read chapter 16 of Domain-Driven Design book. And then to conclude this part, and in chapter 17, we are going to see how can you describe these different perspectives. How do we can we combine these different perspectives of strategic design? So we are going to see how can you combine the first perspective that was on in terms of bounded contexts. So what is the relation between parts of the domain in terms of dependencies between teams in the work of teams. This idea of the destyling, so what is the core part of your domain model, and then the other part about the structure. What is the big picture of your domain model? This elegant big picture of your domain model, and in this final chapter we will try to understand or put them together, because actually there are different ways to look at the same domain model, but they are complementary ways. And so it's interesting to think in terms of this complementarity instead of saying that it's a hierarchical relation or a very strict relation with the different perspectives. Actually, they are complementary, and you apply them in terms of the so how deep you develop each one of them depends on the characteristics of the specific characteristics of your project. So read both chapters and try.